Do you feel like if only you had a plan for your business, if only you knew what steps to take in what order, you would definitely have what it takes to make a success of that business? The only problem is you've never done this before. So you don't know exactly what steps to take, and you're constantly being hit with all sorts of information and all sorts of you should do this, you should do that. And you just really wish that you knew what was the best for you. Well, I got you because I definitely remember feeling like that. And now that I've been through it so many times, I've been around the bush, not just with my own businesses, but also having the privilege of helping other women build their businesses, I've got kind of this bird's eye view, and I'm able to have this sense of perspective and see what works when and what works in other circumstances. And so I thought that I'd share with you three of the top business models that have really been great money makers for my clients. Now, this list is by no means comprehensive. In fact, I pride myself on the fact that my clients, none of them have the exact same business. I think that's why people come to a business coach, is so they can get that personalization and they're not just, given a form letter basically that they should follow. But these three are really powerful. They're proven models, and I think you'll get a lot of insight out of what I'm about to share with you. And so, to throw in just a little added sweetener, I'm also going to share who these businesses work really well for, so that hopefully you, at the end of this video, will have some idea about the best business plan for your business. All right, the first one is these are all service-based businesses. And the first one is when you start with one-to-one coaching or consulting, and then you move into group programs, and eventually you move into courses, online courses, and hopefully an evergreen course, which means that you aren't necessarily present when you sell that course or when that course is being delivered. It's just there on autopilot, which means you have residual income coming in. And that really kind of is that entrepreneurial dream of being on a beach in Bali and checking your phone and seeing all of this money coming in. And that's what you're working towards with this particular business model. So this is really popular, and it's supported by some of the big names in business coaching and business courses, like Amy Porterfield, for instance. She was actually one of my first mentors, and that's why I followed this business model when I started with performance coaching and then moved into business coaching. Now, this is really good for people whose clients are familiar with coaching and are interested in coaching and or consulting of any type, and they really are able to sell their services and get themselves premium prices, which then allows them the funds to scale out their business, to hire team members, to pay for advertising, for instance, on Facebook or other platforms. And so it can be a really fantastic way to get your business going and to then scale and grow your business. Now, this is who it's not good for. It's not good for people that have hesitancy about selling, because it does require that you get to really know your customer inside and out and then have a frank one-to-one conversation with them where you do need to sell. And while every business does need to sell at some point, you don't necessarily have to sell one-to-one right from the get-go. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It's also good, this is also a good business model for people that prefer that ability to course correct on the fly. So here's what I mean by that. if you are working with one person and you're just starting out, so you're not quite sure about the entire system that you're going to deliver, it's really helpful to work with just one person at a time, because when they have a question, you can quickly answer that question, and then you can pivot the direction of the next bit of information that you would provide based on that feedback, based on what they're asking of you. Now, that's not always possible in other avenues. So that is the number one business model that you'll hear a lot of people talking about, is to start out with one-to-one private coaching. Now let me tell you about another one. Another one is where you actually start out with group coaching first, and then from there you're able to upsell some of those people into more premium packages of one-to-one coaching, and then you can still end the same way or still scale out the same way later on, where you provide courses. Now this is really good for people that where their clients are not certain that coaching is a good value for them. Maybe they think that actually if you just give me the information, I'll be able to run with it. And therefore I would prefer to spend at a lower price point than would be possible for one-to-one coaching. So that's one really quick way to get your feet wet and to get a few people, all at once that can then provide testimonials for you. Now, just a caveat here, the testimonials may not be as great as they would be with one-to-one coaching, specifically because you don't have the ability to spend as much time giving one-to-one support when you're working in a group environment. And two, people that are spending at a lower price point are not necessarily as invested in the process. So they're not going to put as much of themselves into it. They're not necessarily going to, for instance, do all of the homework assignments or take all of, or allow themselves to be pushed quite in the same way that somebody would if they were putting serious skin in the game, serious money into the game. And so while it's a good way to get a lot of people involved quickly and to gather a good quantity of testimonials, sometimes you may not get the same quality of testimonials. However, it can bring in money quickly, it can get you up and going, and you don't have to have the same type of one-on-one conversations with people that you would for one-to-one coaching. And then from that group, you may be able to sell 1, 2, 3, however many private coaching packages, because you can say to them, you've gotten such great results doing these things. Imagine what would be possible if we continued working together one-to-one. Imagine what could happen then. And the great thing is that these people, they've been working with you now for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And so they know you, they've grown to trust you, and they've become very, very warm leads. And so it's very possible that you'll be able to have a much easier sales conversation when you do talk about one-to-one coaching than you would with somebody that was colder traffic, that had just come into your universe and really didn't know you that as well. Okay, so the first one I mentioned was starting with one-to-one coaching, moving to group programs, and then on to courses. The second business model that is a huge winner for so many people starting out is to actually start with lower priced group program offerings and then upsell some of those people into one-to-one coaching so that you can get those quality testimonials and you can get more income coming in at a higher price point, and then move into courses the same way you did in the first model. The third model I wanted to mention is where you start with done-for-you work, done-for-you packages. So rather than doing any consulting or any coaching, you're actually providing a service for people directly. Now this is great when your clients aren't really even sure that they want to learn how to do what it is that you do. They're very happy to outsource that part of their business or part of their life, and they really just want an expert to take care of it for them. In that case, it's wonderful to start with done for you packages. You can still charge very premium prices depending on how much they trust you, depending on what kind of social proof, what kind of testimonials you have. A lot of people have, they start businesses using skills that they used in the workplace. So if you can demonstrate results that you've gotten for your company, that can translate very easily into your own private business. So doing done for you services allows you to also develop a portfolio and to actually show that expertise for the time when later on you do decide to do coaching or consulting. And there are various ways you can do it at that point. You can coach other people on how to do and sell the done for you services that you've been doing. You could also continue working with your current clients, now helping them take their whatever it is that you do to a higher level. And the third way is to take on new clients, but teach them to do it for themselves rather than doing it for them. Now, obviously, the reason that you are limited when you do done for you services is because you only have a certain amount of time in the week. There's only one of you. There's only so much you can do with done for you services until you start contracting out components of those services to team members. But at the end of the day, even when you're doing that, you still need to be directly involved in that business, which is why when you start moving into consulting and then on to courses, it's possible to reach more people with the same amount of work, but using different platforms, different venues, different ways of transmitting that information so that you can touch more people at once. I hope that was helpful. It really is a, nuts and bolts, start to finish business plan. All three of them have really worked wonders for my clients. And I'd encourage you to think about this for yourself. And if you want to talk more in depth about who your clients are, what kind of person you are, and therefore what would be the best model for you and your business, even if you actually don't know exactly what business to start, then hop on a free call with me. You can go to theuncommonway.com/schedule. We'll set up a time to talk, and then I'll give you my full experience and let you know straight up exactly what I think would be best for you and how coaching can help you get there so much faster and so much easier than if you tried to do it on your own. I hope that was helpful. Good night.